All of our kids are recently arrived immigrants. We provide a rigorous and safe environment for them to flourish.
If you don't speak English well, you don't have to think about it. Like, you can use different ideas from different people.
They're working in small groups because they need to be using English actively.
Did you understand what they're trying to say?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
They're able to spend quality time delving deeply into subjects that warrant more than learning some cursory facts.
You need a good verb that describes going into a cell, taking the DNA.
Extract.
Extract.
English language learners, you need repetition of topics and concepts in language and vocabulary.
We thought it was a time of reform where there's a lot of people trying to reach out for their American dreams, but then it seems to be impossible.
Over time, the language barriers start to get smaller and smaller. The 12th graders, they're mixed, hanging out, speaking English.
All of our kids in the vast majority of our schools are recently arrived immigrants. We expect diversity and we honor it, and we are thrilled that our students come to us from 119 countries, speak 90 languages. Some of them come in without a word of English, but are fully fluent and literate in their home languages.
But can you translate it for me, please?
写一下你是怎么得到答案的关于那个问题。
Approaching learning in a very deep way works for these kids. We provide a rigorous and safe environment for them to flourish through project-based learning.
Take a look at that space and come up with at least one question that can become a mathematics problem. I came to this country when I was 16. Just like my students, I came with no knowledge of English, and I went to the International High School at La Guardia Community College. Ever since then, I felt like everything that my teachers did for me, it was the best way to pay it off was by going into teaching and doing the same thing they did for me. What mathematical concept is that question asking?
It may ask about volume or area.
Or area. I can relate to them, but more importantly, they can relate to me.
What is the height of the word that is in the back?
Okay, what is the height of the
word?
The word? Yeah. The wall in the back, yes. The one common language we have is English. Whether it's perfect or not, that we have to force ourselves to get our messages across. To suffer and struggle with that is how they're gonna be learning.
This one is 20, 24.
I wanted them to answer the essential question of this unit, which is about how can we measure lengths indirectly. This lesson is about making a scale model of the school building. So the kids went outside to measure the height of the different trees or different objects that surround the school building. 184. So they needed to indirectly measure them using the inclinometer, which will help them measure the angle of elevation.
Before I came to this school, my English is terrible. I'm afraid to raise my hand, and I don't think I can talk to anyone in English. The last one?
Yeah.
How about the front tree? I feel comfortable at class. I can practice my English in class. I can make friends in my class.
They're working in small groups because they need to be using language actively. So you make the content accessible, and kids may be doing some thinking or even accessing online materials in their native language, but they're accessing rigorous content. But allow them to learn their new language by engaging in very hands-on projects, using English to work together, and they're using English to present out at the end.
Through this angle, we can get the length of this side.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys, we have a lot of stuff to get done this week. So first thing, take out your fish journals from last week. Through this project-based environment, you see a thread develop from day to day. Especially with English language learners, you need repetition of topics and concepts in language and vocabulary. We need a good verb that describes going into a cell, taking the DNA.
Extract.
Extract. So we extracted your DNA last week. This week, we need to copy your DNA. If what you do on Monday is related to what you're doing for the next 3 weeks, you start to see students take ownership of the language, the new vocabulary. Today, we're looking at a pretty abstract process of DNA replication. All the words we need for today, template, replicate, etc., these are also on your paper. Try and give us your best translation into your language. I want to see if I'm accessing anything that they already know. I want them to realize that, like, if you know it in your native language as well as in English, you're developing literacy in 2 places, in 2 languages.
When I'm in China, we have a lot of work to do, but we cannot just practice a lot of activity. Like now we are in the DNA project, and in China we will never to do it ourselves. So it's very interesting.
Which one did you buy?
This one.
This one or this one?
This one.
This one.
Sometimes when we're doing the classwork, and teacher always came to group by group and ask a question like, did you get any question or did you get it? If we don't, and he can just explain individually, that really help us.
Go all the way into the pink and spit out the DNA. The project is always hands-on. The project is always giving them something more than just words to grab onto. The language becomes a vehicle for describing what's going on in the classroom. Look, that's it. Not, okay, just a little bit and then go in. At the beginning of the year, I look at it and say, oh wow, this kid doesn't speak any English. You know, and at some point during the year, I'm looking at their writing, I'm hearing them talk in class, and I say, okay, you got it. You're like fluently getting through like a 2-minute conversation. When somebody gets to that point of speaking and interacting, you know that they've kind of made it.
Having students who understand how to navigate a global world and speak multiple languages is a huge strength. Critical thinkers who can communicate well, who can cite evidence for their views, and can work with diverse groups of people, can collaborate really across diversity, is not just an idea, but is a reality.
Okay, good morning, Class K. Is everyone in the station that they left off yesterday? Okay, let's take about 3 to 5 minutes to just finish up. If you have finished, talk with each other. I plan my courses in the same way that I would plan if I were teaching all native language speakers. The goal is the same.
And there was an area where there were many Viet Cong communists in the South fighting against the Americans.
Some of the information that they were accessing from a website, it was filled with a lot of jargon that they just weren't able to sift through. So I kept the sophistication of the language, but scaffolded to not include so much jargon that they would just be lost in it.
They went deeper into the South.
Which is what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to go deeper into the South.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Did you understand what they're trying to say?
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
I think the thing that comes out of project-based learning is a sense of inquiry. The students really develop wanting to learn something new. It all comes from a place of wanting to know something and then wanting to show others what they have learned.
North is the good or the bad?
North is a bad.
And then South? Oh yeah, because they wanted to go deeper into the South.
Study is very different from the school that I have been, because it's like here they teach you for you to understand. I learned from these students. Just because their English is kind of low, but they're good at something and they have something too to show. So working with them is gonna show me how to use their knowledge too to help others. So it's not just about me.
Everyone is here in the school learning English, so you don't have to think that if you don't speak English well, you don't have to think about it. Like you can use different ideas from different people, and like it makes you like think and makes you organize, you know.
Over time, the language barriers start to get smaller and smaller. And then if I walk down the hall to the 12th graders, they're mixed, hanging out, speaking English.
We're going to continue working on our project today for The Great Gatsby. Who would like to share with the class? Go ahead, Faiza.
Okay, so how does F. Scott Fitzgerald character in The Great Gatsby serve as a reflection of society in America during the 1920s? So we thought it was a time of reform where there's a lot of people trying to reach out for their American dreams, but then it seems to be impossible.
I teach a course that I call American Studies. It's English, but what we do is we study the history around a novel, poetry, essays, whatever we're reading, we're looking at the history around that piece. I want to move us towards your projects, which you started yesterday. I'd love it if everybody could sort of just tell the class what project you're working on. The way project-based learning looks or works in my class is that we'll read a piece, and as they're reading, they're doing collaborative work. They're investigating a question.
We are planning to write the eulogy.
Trying to create a movie trailer.
We are going to film ourselves.
Okay. The scaffolds that I sort of tried to put together is really looking at symbolism, looking at dialogue, looking at plot development, looking at characterization, looking at themes.
Well, if you were gonna write the personal letter, you would have take like from the scene in the movie. We could letter, right?
Yeah.
High five. Okay, so a letter.
I came here and I had a little more English than some of the students because I went to middle school. So I was always trying to help out, and I know some students had more English than I did. So it's like you understand that we need each other, so we help push each other forward.
This one is to talk to Jay Gatsby, or we need to talk to someone else.
Because Jay Gatsby already died.
Yes,
so we need to talk to other people.
About him?
About him.
Okay.
Also, the International's work has always been Common Core. We've always looked for evidence, had students really support what they're thinking and doing with evidence. We have always analyzed literary text. To me, that's really deeper learning.
You cannot own someone's love.
Okay, so I see you're saying a theme is that love cannot be possessed.
Yes.
Our kids have a contribution to make. They're learning to think very critically, communicate well, and can collaborate really across diversity.
Our situation is like magnet.
I really feel like my seniors are at this point, with all of the work that they've done, it's just made them adults. It's made them ready for college, which makes me really proud.